I'd like to call to order the April 15th meeting of the Glens Falls Zoning Board of Appeals.
Approval of
Okay,
minutes.
great. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the March 18th, 2024 minutes with one amendment to Resolution 9. There were 2 nays to this request. Commissioner Gross and Commissioner Hargrave-Caddy were the nays on there. So can I get a second for the approval with that amendment?
Second.
Okay. All right, and now on to new business. We have use variance 24-002 for the owners of, I think, do you want to do 4 first? Yeah. 4 May Street, owners 4-6 May Street LLC, commonly known as 4 May Street, seeking a use variance to continue the multifamily use where only single and 2 family are allowed in a residential use, Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. My name is Dan Mannix. I represent 4-6 May Street LLC. They are the owners of both 4 and 6 May Street, originally enough. And just so for clarity purposes, can we talk about 4 May Street?
So this one we're gonna, I guess, throw to the side because it doesn't apply as there is site plan review.
Well, 4 Main Street is in the LNC, right? Local
Currently,
neighborhood,
yes.
Right? And so the local neighborhood commercial district, it says, use is permitted upon site plan review and approval of the planning board. And it says multifamily dwellings of 3 or more dwelling units. So you don't need a use variance for 4. You need to go to the planning board, right?
Yeah, for site plan approval.
Okay.
Okay.
But I had a question about 4 and 6 in one aspect regarding parking.
Okay.
With zoning, I don't know if they're sharing one of the lots for parking or how are they providing parking?
Yeah, the one lot is 6 is larger than 4.
Yep.
And so the parking is in the driveway is completely off street and behind both 4 and 6.
And the number of parking spots that are we talking about 4 right now or 6?
Well, 4 does not need a use variance, so it's actually,
So it's not even on the
it will remove it
Okay.
because it's a multifamily
Fine.
are allowed by conditional use in the LNC
Okay.
district. So just, I guess, that'll go to site plan review before the planning
Okay.
board.
And you may have to address parking though at site plan review
Okay.
for the 4 unit. I'm looking at the parking now, what's required.
It's,
1.5?
Yeah, it's 1.5 per once you get
So
past-
they need 6 per, so that's 12 parking spots total.
Okay.
All right, so 4, you're withdrawing then, because it's not needed, is that right? Dan?
That's what I understand. I was informed this evening.
All right, so that's withdrawn by the applicant. Okay.
And that's because it's an LCN.
This,
LNC, sorry.
what had happened is one of our, the use variance application that was out in the wild had the old submission deadlines. And as the applicant was fully prepared with what was on the form, we accepted it. But we had about 15 minutes to make the post-start deadline to get the legal notice out, which is why we changed the submission deadline in the first place.
Okay.
So that's how we ended up here.
All right, so that one's done.
So item 1 has been withdrawn. We move on to item 2, use variance 24003. Daniel Mannix, representing 4-6 May Street LLC, commonly known as 6 May Street, is seeking a use variance to continue the multifamily use where only single family and 2 family are allowed residential use. So this seems like a duplicate request, but these adjacent parcels are in different zoning districts. So now we've moved to the R2 zoning district.
Right.
And are you asking for it to be an RM?
They're requesting a use variance, so they have a 4. The request is for a use variance. There's 4 units currently existing here.
It's
But would it be-
always been here for, yes,
Right, but-
since its inception, yes.
as
We
opposed.
understand that, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm only asking, is it asking to change it to be zoned as an RM or just as a use variance?
No.
That'd
Just-
go in front of-
Variance.
that'd go in front of the common council, and one law would have to be adopted for the change in zone. So in this circumstance,
It's
it makes more sense to do the use variance since it's
It's a
not
use
law use.
variance.
And the impetus for this is that my clients have a buyer that wants to purchase both units, and their bank is going to seek a letter, a zoning letter. The attorney, Tim Schuler, for the buyer indicated to me that obviously 4 was in an LNC and 6 was in an R2, and wanted to seek the letter. So when I approached the building and codes, he recommended the use variance for both, and then obviously we corrected 4. We've got to.
Or you just need site plan review, because that's a proper use in that zone.
Okay,
It's permitted, excuse me, it's a
Permitted.
permitted use with site plan review.
okay. So with 6 Main Street, my clients, as the application says, I don't want to repeat everything in here, but certainly willing to review anything you'd like. They've owned it for close to 20 years, and the properties were both 4 families at the time when they purchased it. They were property class 411, and they've owned them and operated them as 4 families, rightfully or wrongfully. But and when I, in preparation for this matter, looking at county records, the both 4 and 6 have been class 411 since 1994, which is as far back as their records go. And then in contacting the city assessor, her records went back to 1973 and 72 that said they were both 411 back then. And again, when I was in the Buildings and Codes office, there's 1967 zoning map on the wall, which I believe at the time in 67 they would have complied with the zoning at that time. But again, here we are today, and zoning was changed at some point, and they no longer conform. But they've been operating consistently and regularly as 4 families. This has complete off-street parking to accommodate all 4 units in both buildings. There's no changes expected to the exterior. There's no request to change any other information about it, other than I know the interior is consistently renovated when old tenants move out and new tenants move in. It's completely done stem to stern. So they are very nice units. If you go through the application, I believe we meet all the criteria for a use variance. It's kind of a unique situation for a use variance, but in any event, I think keeping it as a 4 unit is required to realize a reasonable return. I think the hardship is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district, because these are the first 2 buildings when you come off Bay Road onto May Street, and as everyone I think is familiar, Bay Road is predominantly commercial and multifamily. There is some residential in that zone, and then I've also researched in the county records the number of homes on Main Street itself that are either 2-family or single-family, 2-family, or apartment buildings, and so I think it's pretty well spread out and a common use in that area. I think it conforms to the uses in that area. As I said, it's been that way for over 50 years, and other than the zoning requirements of today's zoning, we're just asking for some relief to provide the buyer's bank with a letter saying if nothing else, it's pre-existing non-conforming.
Well, and that's my question to the code
Yeah.
officer. So you have a zoning map that goes back to 1963, and this was a four-family, and it met the conditions of the zoning requirements?
No, so the furthest back that we see it as four-family was in 72 or 73.
Uh-huh.
And the map does show it as an RM, but from our own recent zoning maps, they've changed 3 times in the last 12 or 14 years. So we can't say definitively that there hadn't been a change between then and when the map was published and when the properties were converted into multi-homes.
When was this structure built? Or it says, I know somewhere.
It says
that
40s,
40s.
I think it says in
And is
in
there
county
any-
records.
Okay. And any indication what it was built? Any blueprints or?
No, no, ma'am. No, just the county records again don't go back any earlier than,
So there's about a
94.
10-year gap between when the zoning map we have shows it and when our best records for when it was converted, if it was converted. So a lot of it happened in 10 years. I wouldn't want to make the assumption that if it was legal in 63, it was legal in 73, because our own history shows that there's been change.
Understood. Were there any building permits issued during those timeframes for apartments, renovations, nothing?
So,
Okay.
So again, I'll just put it on record that you guys have adequate parking for both locations of 6 per.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, so a reminder, a use variance, it's the strict scrutiny test, so it's not like an area variance. Every requirement in the application needs to be met to grant the use variance. So the first question is, if the granting of this variance is necessary in order to realize a reasonable return and lack of is substantial as demonstrated by competent financial evidence set forth herein. We have been provided with an amortization schedule. So, can you just outline for
Correct.
us what
Sure.
we have here?
So for the attachments, these, attachment 1 was just a tax map of the area showing the general vicinity. Attachment A was a run, more of a worksheet that explains the offer of the price that's been offered to purchase the buildings, relative cost with 20% down, reasonable mortgage rate, and the return currently of the apartments as they're rented. You can see the rents there. The numbers work under the current scenario,
Under a four-family?
under a four-family,
But
correct?
wouldn't work under the two-family?
It would not. No, it's a significant hardship to go back to a two-family, not to mention the costs associated with that.
To renovate,
Yes,
to take out 2 kitchens and take out?
correct.
Right.
It'd be a significant cost
Yeah.
associated with making it conforming, I guess. Attachment B are the county records for both 4 and 6. The second one, you can see for 6 Main Street. The county records go back to April 20th, 94, showing the property class consistent with what it currently is. And then my telephone call up there, they don't have any records going any earlier than that. And again, my telephone call to the city assessor. And then the last attachment C is a amortization schedule for a purchase price of $280,000. It runs the same if you do both buildings. 20-year term is a typical commercial loan with an LLC that can actually might be able to get the residential rate, but 6.75. I do some work with local banks. That's a reasonable interest rate these days, and the payment of $21.29 plus taxes plus maintenance and upkeep, insurance, becomes cost prohibitive to consider it to go back to a two-family.
Attorney Mannix, the one document that you submitted from Warren County
Mhm.
for 6 shows that it was year built 1970. Do you know, I didn't look for.
I didn't, I'm sorry, I thought that was 1940.
One says 1950, 4
Yep,
Main
1950,
Street
yeah.
says year built 1950.
Yes.
6 Main Street says year built
1970.
1970.
Yes. And the city assessor record for 6 goes back to 72.
Okay.
And that was property class 411 at that time. Which
And
made
the
it
county has it listed as 4-family residential.
correct.
Phil, the zoning in 1970, which one did you say you had?
We have 1960, 63. So we have that one, I think the next zoning map's 1994. So, and I've been told that there were some changes made in the span there, so, so I said we didn't feel comfortable issuing the letter based on that gap.
Okay. Do you think it was built, Dan? Did you happen to look for deeds, or you didn't look? I didn't look either.
I did have the deeds going back, it doesn't indicate what the use was at the time.
No, do you know when the first deed was for the parcel?
I have the abstract in my office, I didn't look at that, just trying to put the information as far as, as far back as the records would show from both the county and the city.
Anyone have questions on the first? The second question is, please explain if the alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the neighborhood. The applicant indicates the alleged hardship is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. Warren County tax records indicate there are 19 homes on Main Street, 7 are property class 210, 6 are 220, 5 are property class 411, and 1 is property class 312. So of the homes, 19 homes on Main Street, 5 of them are assessed at 4 units.
Yes.
But we did,
312 is that garage, vacant property garage, I think.
Move on to number 3. Please explain if the requested use variance will alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Requested variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The neighborhood and district support a significant number of multifamily homes, particularly 4 Main Street and 6 Main Street have been 4-unit apartments since 1973 and 1972. Almost every owner of homes in the neighborhood have known 4 and 6 Main Street as 4-unit homes. So they are established as 4-unit residents. That is essentially what they're known as in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, explain your need for a variance. Is the need for a variance a result of a self-created hardship on your part? The use of 4 and 6 Main Street as 4-family apartment houses date back more than 50 years. Warren County records indicate a property class code of 411, apartment since 1994. The city assessors indicate the same. So the current owner purchased this as a 4-unit.
Yes.
Attorney Mannix, to your knowledge, how long have the banks been requiring these letters?
This is actually new to me because I represented my clients when they purchased and refinanced, and neither time did they require a zoning letter because the records indicated it was a 4-family. So I'm not sure what Mr. Schuler's, I know what Mr. Schuler's concerns are.
Right.
And I understand that, but I don't know that his clients had a letter from the bank requiring it, but his attorney is. So
I've had experience sometimes if it's the buyer that wants it. I think I was doing these in maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
yeah.
For what it's worth, we have been seeing a steady increase in these requests in the past year and a half. When I first started almost 2 years ago, it was pretty rare, and now we're getting 3 to 6 a week, it seems like. So it seems like banks in general, the lenders are becoming more risk adverse in our reporting these.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Oh, and to answer the question of the sales, I looked it up on Image Made. It was the first recorded sale was in 49, the next recorded sale was in 72, for what it's worth.
So it's just a vacant lot and then maybe.
It doesn't say in the
Okay.
sales record, but it does show the sale in 49 and then another sale in 72. So.
Well,
Are there any other concerns or questions from the board members?
I don't, I mean, I feel like, you know, all the questions are answered. It is an established four-family building in the district. It is adjacent to a district that allows this use conditionally. So,
You want to do seeker?
Seeker. We can do seeker.
I'm getting the sense from the board that you want to approve the use variance, is that?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
All right, so with respect to seeker, the applicant has supplied the short environmental assessment form. I would classify this as an unlisted action. So number one, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? Not with the variance being granted, so the answer would be no. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the land?
No.
No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
No. Will the proposed action increase the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
No. Based upon the board's review of the Part 2 impact assessment, the board could issue a negative declaration for the seeker motion.
I would like to make a motion that the Glens Zoning Board of Appeals hereby accepts lead agency status for 4-6 May Street LLC, owner or agent of the property located at 6 May Street. The board has determined the action to be an unlisted action and has reviewed the short form environmental assessment, and upon documentation and discussion, issues a negative declaration. May I have a second, please? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
And you just need to do your use variance.
All right, and so following that, I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grant the applicant for use variance for the project identified as 4-6 May Street LLC, located at 6 May Street, Glens Falls, as presented at the meeting of April 15th, 2024, pursuant to the following criteria shown by the applicant. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable return, and the lack of return is substantial, as demonstrated by competent financial evidence. The hardship relating to the property is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. The requested use variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, and the hardship has not been self-created. I think that's it. Can I have a second?
Second.
Hands on seconds. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, the motion carries.
So you're all set, Ian.
Thank you very much.
And then we'll see you at planning board apparently.
Yeah, well, I talked to Rich about it a little bit today. He'll get a hold of you and start the next steps.
Thank you very much. So, Brittany, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the April 15th meeting of the Glensville Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second that.
All in favor? All right, thank you. Have a nice night.